So last week OpenAI released their GPT-40 image generator and it is blown up, and all of these thumbnails that you're seeing right now, they were created with this brand new model, and everyone's talking about this new feature. But what is it that makes it so special? So ChatGPT has always had an image generator called DALL-E. Now the problem with it though was that it kind of sucked. It was inconsistent, didn't have a lot of good features to play around with, and not to mention the results were nowhere near as good as the ones that you get with Midjourney or Leonardo AI. But now things have changed with the new GPT-40 image generator. They've added some massive improvements so you can create images with insane quality, speed, and consistency. Now you probably see where this video will be going, but I'm going to save the best for last. You know how people say stuff like, bro, you know that designers and photographers' job is going to be replaced with AI. And most of the time this is said with some irony, but this time I actually feel bad for them, and I'm about to show you why. And we're going to do this by testing out this new feature in 3 different areas: product images, general images, and how good it is at writing text. Because if you've ever used AI tools like Midjourney, you know that it's just a mess when it comes to writing accurate text. However, I know that many of you who are watching my videos, you want to know how you can use this for faceless YouTube automation. So as I said, I thought I'd take an extra step, and at the end of this video I'll show you a brand new way that you can use this feature that I've never seen anybody else talk about here to create viral thumbnails. And if you're using this method correctly, you'll be ahead of everybody else in this space, and you're going to save yourself tons of time and money on the video creation while also increasing the click-through rate on your videos. Now I just randomly happened to have this San Pellegrino water bottle on my desk, and we're going to create an ad that looks like it's created by a professional photographer in less than 60 seconds. So first I took an image of the bottle on my desk with my phone. It doesn't have to be a super fancy image. Now when I think about San Pellegrino, the first thing that comes to my mind is Europe, the Alps, and nature, right? So I found this product photo on Google of some random thermos, and I want to put my San Pellegrino bottle into this image. So what you want to do first is open up ChatGPT and make sure you have it set to GPT-40, otherwise this isn't going to work. Then I'm going to click on this plus button in the prompt box and upload the 2 images. Now on to the important part, the prompt. Now the goal is to instruct ChatGPT to switch out the bottle in the product image from Google to the image that I took of the San Pellegrino bottle, and I'm going to go with a prompt that looks something like this. Then you hit generate and you just wait a few seconds for it to be generated, and it ended up giving me this. Now as you can see the result, it looks super crisp and realistic. Now a few years ago you need both a photographer and a graphic designer just to get a shot like this. Now I know that summer is just around the corner, but let's say you want to prepare a winter ad campaign, right? So I'm just going to enter a prompt saying, generate a different version of the ad, imagining that it was for a winter ad campaign. Press generate again, and it ended up creating this result. Now there's a few things I want you to pay attention to here. Now notice how when I used the word winter, it not only added snow but it also changed the details on the bottle. Now in the first image the color on the bottle is a much deeper green, and here in the second one it's brighter and almost looks like it's frozen. So yeah, when it comes to product photography you can do some pretty crazy stuff with this feature. Now on to the second test before we get into how you can actually use ChatGPT-40 for your own YouTube channels and thumbnails. General images. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I like to use image generators to create visuals for my videos, and I often use Leonardo AI for this. So let's see how good of a job that ChatGPT does with this. Now to put this to the test, I wanted to try to use the same prompt I used to create the visuals in one of those POV videos that have been all over TikTok during the last couple of months, and in that video I used Leonardo AI and ended up getting this result. So I took the exact same prompt, and this time I generated it in ChatGPT, which gave me this result. And personally I'd say that the ChatGPT image looked a bit more realistic, but go ahead and let me know which one you think out-earned the best in the comments. So one thing that the old DALL-E model struggled with a lot was creating realistic looking images. So let's put this to the test. We've all seen the American Psycho movie with Christian Bale, but what if they casted a blonde guy to play this role instead? So I went ahead and found a poster for the movie on Google, and I asked ChatGPT to replace Christian Bale with a blonde man in his 30s, and the result turned out Like this, you literally wouldn't be able to tell if this wasn't a real person. Check it out, see how all the details, they stay exactly the same, like the facial expression, the clothes, and even the blood on his face, and you can play around with this however you like. I even tried adding in an 80-year-old grandma, but it didn't allow me to do that because apparently that was elderly abuse. Go figure. Anyway, now on to the third test, which I think is probably the biggest improvement: creating images with accurate text. Now you can probably see where I'm getting with this. Yes, you can. Now create perfect thumbnails with AI. As I said earlier, most AI image generators are really terrible at this. It's all becoming a mess, but GPT-40, you can actually create images with super accurate texts. I looked around a bit on OpenAI's website and I found this example of how accurate text you can create with this model, and if you take a look at this image they showed, you'll see exactly how crazy it is. First of all, the text on the whiteboard itself, but also the details in the background, like the reflection of the person taking the image and the Golden Gate Bridge. They actually gave out the prompt they used to create this image, so I just copied and pasted it and tried generating it myself, and it turned out very close to the original and the text turned out exactly like in the prompt. Another way to use this feature is if you already have an image and you just want to add some text to it. Take the San Pellegrino ad that we just created. Now let's say that you wanted to add white text in a thin font that says "from nature," right? So I'm just going to write a prompt saying add a white text in a thin font that says "from nature" above the bottle. And after waiting for a few seconds, it gave me this, the exact same image with a crisp white font saying the exact words that I asked for. So in the future, instead of just adding text to your images manually in tools like Canva, you can just upload your image in ChatGPT and then just tell it exactly what text that you want added instead. But now on to the part that you've all been waiting for: how you can use ChatGPT 4.0 to increase the click-through rate on your video and save hundreds of dollars every single month. So the most important part of getting a high click-through rate is your thumbnail, right? You all know that the viewer clicks on your video based on how good your thumbnail is and how enticing it is, and since most people can't design thumbnails themselves, they have to outsource it to a freelancer, and that takes a lot of time and it can cost up to $50 per thumbnail. But now with this new ChatGPT 40 update, you can create viral thumbnails with only a few clicks and without having to spend a bunch of money. For example, all of these examples, they were made with ChatGPT and they're actually very simple to create if you just have the right strategy. Now, I found two ways that you can go about this to get the best results. Either you can create a thumbnail from scratch or you can recreate an already viral thumbnail. The first method is to create a thumbnail from scratch by hand drawing a sketch, and yes, I mean really drawing it with your hands. Now I know most of y'all and myself absolutely suck at drawing, but luckily that doesn't matter. All you have to do is create a sketch that looks somewhat like the result that you want. For this example, I want to create a thumbnail of a guy floating around in the middle of space with a bunch of planets around him, and also I want it to be in a Disney Pixar style. So step 1 is to draw the sketch, and you can do this with any online tool or literally on just a piece of scrap paper. Now personally I'd go with Canva since it's free and easy to use. Now create a new project in 169, which is the YouTube thumbnail format, and use this pencil tool. Then just start drawing a sketch on what you want the thumbnail to look like. Now it's almost guaranteed to look terrible because I said not everybody knows how to draw, including me, and also don't forget you're trying to use a mouse to draw, right? But as I said, it doesn't matter. Once you're done, you want to download the image and head back over to ChatGPT. From here it's super simple. All you got to do is write a prompt for ChatGPT and ask it to turn your drawing into a YouTube thumbnail followed by a description of the image. So I'm just going to write something like a man floating around in space with planets around. Then to get the style that I want, I'm going to create the thumbnail in a Disney Pixar animation style. Now hit generate and it'll create a thumbnail for you in only a few seconds, and as you can see with the result, it turned out pretty damn good and would probably have cost you at least $50 or more to get the job done with a freelancer. Not to mention you'd have to wait a couple of days for the designer to get it done. Now if you want to just change anything, just click on the image and type what you want changed into this box, and ChatGPT is going to make the changes in only a few seconds. Unless you already have a viral thumbnail you're trying to recreate, you can really design any thumbnail you want from scratch with this strategy. However, that takes us to The next method, if you actually already have a viral thumbnail that you just want to recreate. Now for this example I want to recreate this Mr. Beast thumbnail and put my own face on it. So what you want to do from here is prepare an image of the thumbnail that you want to recreate and an image of the face that you want to swap, and now open up ChatGPT, press the plus button, and upload both of the images, and then finally you're going to enter a prompt saying, replace the face in the thumbnail left image with my face right image as accurately as possible. Hit generate and it'll do exactly as you prompted and swap Mr. Beast's face with your own, and as you can see it turned out exactly as the original, with the face being the only difference. And I'm also thinking to make it even better, we should use the text function that I showed you earlier and ask it to add a text box in a bold yellow font saying, "I almost died." Hit generate and as you can see it gave me this result, which looks just like a thumbnail from Mr. Beast. Now remember, proven concepts, they're generally what you should always copy, since if you think about it, someone has already tested that idea for you and proven it to go viral, and this means that your chances of getting good results with the same idea, they're much higher. Now what a lot of people don't know though is that you can use AI tools like this plus some other tools like ChatGPT and Trello to create fully automated YouTube automation channels. It's what I do, and it's what's allowed me to earn over $500,000 from YouTube as a faceless creator. Now if you want to learn more about how me and over 30,000 plus students run these faceless channels, I got a program where I teach people how to do it, and most importantly how to do it profitably. Now I only accept a handful of people every month. Go ahead and shoot your shot and apply through the link that I put somewhere in the description. If your application looks interesting, I'll make sure to be in touch. That's all for today. See you.